Welcome, everybody, to our third Thursday Inspirational Speaker Series with DBSA California. My name is Amy Lombardi, and I am on the board of directors with DBSA California. And we bring you these talks on third Thursdays with various mental health experts, people that have some knowledge to share with us. And we have a really unique opportunity today to learn about therapeutic filmmaking. And I'm going to introduce our special guest. So today we have with us Mohammad Shahisaman. He is a marriage and family therapist and the clinical director at the Glendora Recovery Center. He specializes in working with individuals, couples, families, and minors who are navigating the complexities of trauma, anxiety, substance abuse, and relational dynamics. Dr. Shahisaman's work integrates trauma-informed care with evidence-based methods such as cognitive behavioral therapy and dialectical behavioral therapy, woven together with experiential somatic and systemic therapies. His research, meanwhile, focuses on experimental filmmaking as a therapeutic intervention, exploring how the processes of writing, directing, filming, and editing can become pathways to healing for people whose experiences resist verbal expression alone. And thus, I am going to turn it over to Dr. Mohammad Shahisaman.
Hi, everybody. Nice to meet you all. A
Hey.
pleasure to be here. Um, so, uh, I'm curious about what everyone's reaction was to this concept when they first saw it. Kind of interested about initial reactions. And I can't see if anyone like raised their hand. You can just like unmute and start talking.
Well,
Okay.
I thought, woohoo! It sounds so exciting. I mean, just to have a little bit of some guidance on how to put together some storytelling stuff that would be fun and rewarding.
Great.
I'm interested in learning how to tell my story and to help others tell their stories. So um, I was quite curious about this.
Oh, great. Was that I'm just trying to was that Nicolette speaking? I'm just trying to see who
No,
unmuted. Oh.
I did unmute, but I haven't spoken yet.
Oh, okay.
Um, so I thought it was a really unique topic, so I decided to join. I haven't joined this group for or participated in an event with this group for about a year and a half, but this looked really unique. And I've thought many times, and I've written a screenplay before and stuff, but I've thought many times about all of the really terrible things I've actually been through in the
Mm,
past 6 years. And it's stuff that, I mean, people you wouldn't believe it.
mm.
And I've thought to myself, gosh, I wish I could kind of share what I've been through, but without being so negative. I mean, how do you share all this negative stuff, like maybe, in a screenplay or something? But I mean, who's going to want to go? They'll want to jump off a cliff.
Mm.
Um, so anyway, I just found it very interesting.
Okay. Thank you, Nicolette. Who was it? Who was it that spoke before Nicolette? Just so I get your name right.
Nalia.
Nalia. Okay. Thank you for sharing, Nalia. Any other initial reactions?
I guess me, what really caught my attention is because I used to be a news reporter, so I've been involved a
Oh,
lot in like documentaries and stuff like that. And back home, I've actually worked with like Emmy Award winning like journalists, so I miss that a lot. So I figured, here's a little take back to something like that. So
oh, wow. Thank you, Gabriella. Thank you for these reactions. Any other ones?
Yeah, I do. I know that creativity has really helped with my illnesses, and so I just wanted to see, how film can kind of that creativity there can I kind of help me.
Okay. Thank you, band.
Yeah.
Is it banned? Is that correct?
Yeah, I got it. I just signed up and
Okay.
I just put in some weird name. I
Oh,
don't
okay. I
know.
was like, that's a great name.
Yeah.
Um, thank you. Anyone else? Well, I think the reason why I chose filmmaking as a therapeutic intervention is because it houses so many different types of creative expression. Um, I myself began my creative life began with music. And then I was fortunate enough to get exposed to friends in college who were into film. And so that was my introduction to the filmmaking world. I didn't know that people could make film on their own. Like I thought like you had to be Steven Spielberg and have like $50 million and have professionals surrounded by you to make a film. And then I met these people in college who were like, I have like a old VHS camera, or like not a VHS, it was like a digital, like really wacky digital cameras. And they're like, yeah, we just like get together and write things and scenes and we film it and then we edit it together and we put it in the film festivals. And I'm like, that's it. It kind of blew my mind how accessible it was. Um, and me loving music, being raised in the MTV world, music and images were always so like united. I was like, I hear music, but I also see things as well. And so, I think of like all my favorite music videos had like all these like beautiful images attached to it. So I always thought of, you know, art, with this marriage between sound and the visuals. And then so when I got this access to this group that like was like, yeah, let's make films, it was like really, really fun. And so it made me kind of explore my own creative bandwidth. And I think that's where, when I began working in the therapeutic world, I asked myself, well, how do I help people really extend out all their branches? And pun intended, me being surrounded by all these branches, but how do we kind of like grow as much as possible in every which way direction so that any sort of benefit we can reap from creative expression, we can. And I think film allows that because you can really like dive into every almost aspect of creative expression. So we got, and I have a document that I'd like to share. Um, Also, I should have asked this earlier. Am I able to send people this document if they want to have it? Can I put it in the chat? Are people able to download? Do I put it in like some sort of drive, or how would you like me to move
You
forward
can
with that?
throw it in the chat and people should be able to open that up.
Okay, let's,
Yeah. I mean, if
yeah,
it's just a link that they can, or I think you can put up either way, like any kind of file, I think people
yeah.
can throw into the chat.
Um, it would be kind of a good way to guide us through this workshop today. Okay. I've just uploaded in the chat. Hopefully you're all able to access it, download it, just have it. I'll screen share it. It'll be kind of our guide as well as we go through this. Um, there's parts of it that allows you to write. So if you want to, as we go through this journey together, start like, interacting with this material, you can. You can just be an observer and just kind of participate in your head. So there's really no kind of restriction as to how you want to participate here. But okay. So let's talk about, so that's kind of like the way I entered into this space is like, how do we use film as a means to kind of access all parts of our creative expression? Um, Now, kind of again, I'm not going to read any of this verbatim. It'll kind of just be like as we talk through this, and I would love for this to be interactive. So please don't hesitate to express your opinions. I'm going to be asking some questions. I'm also like a teacher, so I love calling on people who I've noticed aren't speaking as much. So that might happen. So be prepared if I'm like, hey, you know, I'd love to hear from you because I haven't heard from you yet. But the kind of the goals that we're going to go for today. is here in the how this workshop's going to work, and this is kind of like this last line, is that we're going to focus on accomplishing maybe two things. One is make contact with the story that matters to you, begin shaping it with something filmable, and leave with a concrete plan to start. So that's our goal here. In the future, we might possibly do more of these, who knows? And if we do, that we can possibly visit each other on these different stages. These are the 7 stages I've mapped out for us. So possibly in the future, we might check in and see where you're at in any of these phases and sort of any of the experiences you've had. But we're just going to do kind of like an overview of these stages that you could essentially go through on your own, like in your own journey of making your film. Before we start with number 1, I want to ask my favorite question to ask, which is the question that when I ask, I always sometimes get people like, oh, I hate answering this question, as if like by answering it, you're now solidifying the answer forever, which is not the case. I'd love to hear from everyone what their favorite film is. Yeah, I know what that means. It's like choosing your favorite sibling or child or pet or something, and you're like, well, it's my favorite now, but it wasn't or may not be. But I think whatever film comes to mind when you think about like what really resonates with you, it could be a new film, it could be a classical film, I think also says a lot about you now, where you're at.
Love Jones.
So what's that?
Love Jones.
Okay, I'm sorry. Who spoke? Okay, let's do this as a means moving forward, because like I have access only to a limited amount of faces. If you unmute and you're gonna say something, please do. Please say your name first. Hi, this is Adam, and then I will know who's speaking. I'm sorry. So who spoke?
Hi, this is Tamara, and my favorite
Hi.
film is Love Jones.
Love Jones. I have never heard of, what is that film? Tell
It's
us about Love Jones.
it's a love it's a love story about how complicated the dance of love is, that it's not perfect, but if you're willing to
Uh-huh.
work for it and be vulnerable, that it'll pay off.
Interesting. Who is it attached to any famous actor or
Yeah,
filmmaker?
Nia Long and Lorenz Tate.
I don't know who either of those people are.
Okay.
Wow,
Yeah. It
that's
came
great.
out, I think that what they just had celebrated, I want to say their 30-year anniversary recently.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. It's older film.
Okay, I'm going to definitely have that in my to watch list. Thank you. I know that's what I love about the answer to these questions. I'm going to get a lot of new films I never heard of that I'm going to now have to watch.
Hi, this is
Okay,
Nadia.
so
I was gonna say Love Jones as well. Funny that
Oh,
um and Nia Long, who was the lead um actress in that film, the lead main character, female character, she's also plays Michael Jackson's mother in the Michael Jackson movie that's out now. And the
yes.
cinematography in that movie is beautiful. They weave poetry into the plot and the storytelling, and it's a very relatable. So, yeah.
Great. 2 for 2 for Love Jones. Who was that just provided that info?
Nalia,
Nalia. Thank you.
you're welcome.
okay, this may sound funny, and I have a few favorite movies, but I just thought of this one because I think it's just so funny. Is the Walt Disney Robin Hood?
Yes.
Isn't that's the best one, I think.
Best music, right? The Rooster
No,
song.
it's I think it's just the funniest, and
Yeah.
has the love story going on with Maid Marian Robin, but it just has just all these quirky things that they do.
Yes.
So anyway, and
Thank
it
you.
has bright colors, and good music. So I think
Yeah.
it's good.
That's a great one. Who is that that's provided this that one?
Band.
Band. Thank you, Band. Appreciate it.
Hey, this is Nicolette.
Hi.
I think my favorite film is probably Bonnie and Clyde.
Oh,
Um, I just always, I don't know, in my mind, that's just classic, and
sure.
I thought it was so well done. The cast was
Yes.
impeccable. And in my opinion, Gene Hackman is probably, I mean, one of the greatest actors ever.
Sure.
He's had an incredible career, and he's made every role his own with so
Mm,
much charisma and power. And um, anyway, that's what I really like.
That's a great one. So my first Warren Beatty film was Dick Tracy. So when I
Uh-huh.
saw Bonnie and Clyde, I was like, what is Dick Tracy doing? I was all it kind of it tripped me out for a second. But yeah, that's a great one. Thank you, Nicolette. Adam, I saw you unmute earlier.
Yeah, I was debating writing about this because I think it's a little tough for me to explain in a short form, but I really like Gladiator.
Yeah.
So he's like a general in the Roman army, and then he becomes a slave who has to fight for his freedom. And obviously, I didn't have anything to that level of experience, but with bipolar one, I kind of had like a standing in society, I guess. And then when
Hmm.
it's like a depth of mania or something, then I'm like the outcast.
Sure. Very nice. And also including a very young Joaquin Phoenix. He comes a long way, right? Good. I'd love to hear more.
Gladiator. This is
Gabriella.
This is Tamara. Gladiator is actually my second favorite movie, so we
Oh,
have a lot in common.
so what's first?
I was the one who said Love Jones, the
Oh,
first one.
okay. Sorry. Okay. Great. Great. Next, please.
Yeah, Gabriella here. I would have to
Hi.
say my favorite movie, and I always think about it, is American Sniper, because
Oh.
I'm more of like a fan of based on true stories. That's usually what I tell people. I'm only going to watch a
Yeah.
movie if it's based on a true story. So I think Clint Eastwood did a really great job in telling
Hmm.
Chris Kyle's story, especially him coming from such a small town. And crazy, I
Yeah.
live there now.
Oh.
But yeah. I just, and like toward the end, how they bring in his wife and the whole story, everything, like I just think it touched me very emotionally. And
Mm.
just about that, like I always think about that movie when it comes to like something true and real. Like
Mm.
I felt it.
Yeah. It's such a sad ending. We won't spoil for anyone who hasn't seen it, but
Yeah.
very sad. Thank you for that, Gabriella.
Hi, this is Amy. I'm gonna piggyback a little bit on Gabriella with like the true story thing. I was just thinking, yesterday, when I met some long lost relatives that we only found through DNA, um, I was thinking about that documentary that came out a few years ago about the three identical twins and um,
Mm.
Three Identical Strangers is what it's called.
Mm.
And I thought it was just so incredible, just kind of learning about all the stuff that happened in their lives. And yeah, so that's what I was thinking about. It's one of my favorites.
Was it the three young men?
Yeah,
Okay. I remember the trailer, I think, and
yeah,
I never saw it.
yeah.
Where did you watch it from? Because I saw that in the theater, but I'd love to watch it at home.
I'm sure you could stream it somewhere. It's probably been like 3 years or something since it
Mm.
was in the theater. And it was a little bit obscure. I don't know, it was kind of at the funky, or maybe it's been like more like 5 years or something.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know, but yeah, Three Identical Strangers
Yeah.
is the name.
And I love that Amy brought in documentaries, which still count. Rosemary was raising her hand.
Oh, hi. Well, I really like because my brother had schizophrenia and I was constantly the movie that I really liked were A Beautiful Mind and The
Hmm.
Soloist. And those weren't like cinematic. I guess the story got to me. And same
Mm.
thing, they were both, I would think, based on true stories. And I really was so happy to see movies like that out there, like conveying the message. And
Mm.
both touched me. Those stories really hit me. And were kind of light bulb moments for me, especially a soloist. The one time when the newspaper guy is Downey Jr. is asking the therapist or counselor guy at like the center, like, why can't you just make him take his medication or just take
Mm.
it? And the counselor says he does not need one more person in his life telling him to take his medication. And it was like,
Mm.
wow. So that happened to hit me.
Mm. That's it. Yeah, I love films that focus on musicians. So Solace is a great one. And for Beautiful Mind. Second film, shout out to Russell Crowe. He's on a good roll right now.
Oh.
Okay. Who have we not heard from yet?
I'll chime in. It's Wendy
Okay.
Lee. Yeah, favorite classic is Shawshank Redemption, and he doesn't
Yes.
love some true justice. So
Hmm.
yeah, I love yeah, the trajectory of that character and how he was able to outsmart, the evil, oppressive force that put him in jail. And then he
Hmm.
just, who doesn't love that one? It's amazing.
It's a great movie. Classic. Okay. Keep going. I think a new person came in and a new person just we're going through everyone's favorite film. We still haven't heard from a few, like Amy or Amy, you want to provide us your favorite
Oh, yeah,
movie?
I'm the Three Identical Strangers one.
Oh no. There's another Amy, right?
There's another Amy. I'm so sorry.
Hi everyone, my name is Amy. Um, my current film that I'm thinking about right now is actually a short film. It's by Donald Glover or Childish Gambino. That's his rapper name. It's a short film called Clapping for the Wrong Reasons.
Mm,
And it basically touches upon like existentialism and like loneliness and like even though he's cooped up in like a big house and stuff, he struggles with like this like constant cycle of like boredom and like
mm,
loneliness and it touches upon like Buddhism as well with like the repetition of it and reincarnation and stuff. So I thought that was really interesting and yeah, I think it was shot with an iPhone camera too. So
they fit a lot of ideas into a short film, and I love Amy bringing in short films, which are also very valid here. I appreciate everyone still sticking to films though. No one's mentioned TV, which is great. We're all in sync right now, which is great. And not knocking TV, but not what we're talking about here. And we'll talk about why. Okay. Anyone else, please? Favorite film?
Are we talking about films that have to do with mental issues or not necessarily?
No, just if you have one VHS uh player and one VHS, to watch a movie, which movie would it be?
It will be Gigi by Vincent Minnelli. I
Oh,
could watch it 20
classic.
times over. I would be always amused and entertained and
Okay.
just love it.
I hope you didn't see the remake with Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez. 'Cause that
No, maybe I should, but I guess
I
I'll
don't
be
think you should.
disappointed.
Yes.
This was Louis Jordan and
Yes.
Leslie Caron. Oh, what a
Yeah.
film.
Yeah. I recommend keeping the pristine image of that film in your head and not tainting
Oh
it
my
with
God, how beautiful, how
Yeah.
gorgeous. Ooh.
Thank you, Helen. Appreciate that.
I'm Ruby. I haven't gone yet.
Yes.
Um, I I can't decide on one, but I will just go with Captain Fantastic,
Oh,
which um
Shia LaBeouf, is that?
I
I
don't know
think
the actors in it.
Oh no.
Viggo Mortensen.
Yeah, that's right. Viggo Mortensen. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it just kind of reminds me of my childhood. I grew up homeschooling and kind of
Mm,
and the family in the movie kind of exists outside of society.
hmm.
And I think the mom died by suicide, and it's just a single dad raising his family in
Mm.
very alternative ways. Um, so yeah, that's my favorite.
I think also based on a true story.
Is it?
I could be wrong. Um, I do appreciate like how well he focused on education with his kids. They were very intelligent and astute. Yeah, really cool movie. I think maybe based on a true story. I don't know. Don't quote me. Anyone else would like to provide? Yes, Jen.
Hi.
Hi.
I would have to say Where the Crawdads Sing. It's
Oh.
based on a gal who raises herself in the marsh of North Carolina, and she
Huh.
becomes a prime suspect in a murder case. Um,
Cool.
yeah, it got mixed reviews, but I think it ended up kind of being a success. And it
Hmm.
talks about a gal who she navigates isolation and love and prejudice. And it's
Hmm.
all swirled in a murder trial. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Interesting. I'm gonna have to look that one up. Sounds juicy.
Yeah, I'm gonna second that one. Yeah, I was thinking about that too. It's like really beautiful and
Mm.
mysterious and kind of juicy in a way.
What is
Okay.
the name of the movie?
Where the Crawdads Sing.
Oh, thank you.
Very good movie.
Wow. Okay. That's a good one, Jen. Everyone seems to really connect with that one. Anyone else?
Hi, I'm Karina.
Hi.
I haven't done it yet. My favorite movie is Malcolm and Marie. It's about a filmmaker actually,
Uh-huh.
and it's a black and white drama,
Uh-huh.
and it's about a couple, but the whole movie is about arguing like all night, and it's really nice. I don't know what else to say, but without telling the story, but it's a
Sure.
really good movie. It's all black and white. It's amazing. It's really nice movie.
And the movie just one conversation?
Yes, just
Wow.
conversation. It's really nice. I think you guys would love that. It's really nice.
What's the name of it again?
Malcolm and Marie. I will write
Mal
down here.
Malcolm and Maria. Okay.
Malcolm and Marie. Yeah.
It reminds me of there's this trilogy called it's like Before Midnight, After Sunset. Anyone ever seen these movies with Ethan Hawke and forgot
Julie
the
Delpy.
yeah, yes. Those are the kind of setup. They're all just one conversation for the whole movie. Beautiful movies too.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Okay. Have we heard from everyone? I think we just had a new person come in. New person, we're just asking everyone's favorite film. So if you'd like to relay that to us. No?
Sup? Sup?
Hi. Your name, please?
Taco Tatis? Did you get his card? Oh, good.
Sorry, excuse
Wait,
me?
who's gonna be there tonight? Alex. Oh, oh no,
She's
Alex.
having a separate conversation.
Maybe
Okay.
somebody
I
needs to be.
I think I muted her.
Okay.
Okay, great. Maybe Ariana will check back in when she's ready. Anyone else have not let us know before we move on? This is great. I have so many great recommendations for myself.
Mhm.
Okay, so the reason why I asked that question is because it kind of helps with our first objective, which is finding your story. Um, when we think about making a film, uh, it might be very daunting to consider, well, like I've never done this before. There's so many things involved. And I think it'd be very easy to get overwhelmed. Now, we're not just making a film for no reason. We're making a film as an introspective activity, a way in which that we can utilize the filmmaking process as a therapeutic process. Um, and every aspect, every iteration of making a film allows an introspective experience. And so that's what we're kind of going to be tapping into is how can we use every iteration of the filmmaking process as a means to understand ourselves, where we are now, how we view ourselves now. Even though we might be diving into a lot of past experiences, it's a very mindfulness present focus activity because it allows us to, it gives us the opportunity to figure out how do we reckon with all these feelings now in the present. In doing so, we first have to start with a story. So part number one, as we see on the screen, finding the story, noticing what keeps returning, making first contact with the material. The body often knows the story before the mind catches up. So what are we talking about here?
Mhm.
A person's story, I think a word that maybe some of you have heard before is intrusive thoughts. Intrusive thoughts work as they're very intrusive. They're these thoughts that keep coming to you without any sort of regulation. You don't want them to come, but they come anyway, and they cause a lot of uncomfortability. A lot of the times, the way I work with my practice is that I don't believe that mental health symptoms are a burden. I believe mental health symptoms are messages. Your mind and body are wanting to communicate. That's why there's symptoms of hyperarousal, which is synonymous with anxiety, hypoarousal, synonymous with depression, swings in mood that could be synonymous to bipolar, dependency on social experiences could be synonymous to borderline tendencies, so forth and so forth. And so, if we view symptoms as a message, and if we start listening rather than trying to repress or withdraw or disassociate, we might learn something. And in learning something, we might then figure out what to do with this knowledge. That's where an intrusive thought could actually be, if we reframe it, maybe it's a story that our body and mind are trying to understand, to reckon with, to maybe process or heal from. If we keep repressing this story, we're going to have the exact same repercussions that we've been dealing with our whole lives, which is maybe why you're here in the first place, is you're trying to deal with these consequences. If we start making some new choices, maybe we have some new experiences, some new consequences. And then we're not going to say that new experiences mean better, but at least they're different. And sometimes different is what we need. So this is where let's start listening instead of repressing and figure out, what's this repetitive story that keeps coming to me, right? What's the thoughts or memory or feeling that I keep thinking about? And I'm going to use words that are synonymous with diagnoses, like a rumination, which could be very synonymous with OCD. But a rumination could really, if we reframe it, could be like, what's the story that we're needing to understand? And so that's where we can start. In doing so, if we can think of it as a story, we can start, in a therapeutic sense, externalizing. Let's start thinking of it as a story and not, this is who I am, or this is what I'm burdened with, or this is my fate, or this is something that is a part of me that will never change. If we start thinking of it as like an external story, we can then start interacting with it in a different way. So that's going to be step number one. So as all of you are sitting here, I'd like you to start thinking about this repetitive story that keeps coming to you, and start imagining it as, is this something that I could start interacting with in a different way than I've interacted with it before? So that's step number one. Any questions or feelings about that? And as we go along with this process, I would love to hear anyone's initial even resistance to any of this, because a resistance is a symptom that we should maybe start listening to. Why is it that your body maybe starts tightening up, your shoulder starts tensing, your stomach starts churning a little bit, your throat starts closing up, your head starts hurting a little bit, your palm starts sweating. You want to speak and you're worried about possibly stuttering or not finding the right words that you can convey appropriately to what you're actually thinking in your head, right? All this like resistance, let's talk about it, right? So anyone have any feelings, thoughts, reactions about step number one, finding your story? Anyone have anyone already know what their story could be? You don't have to tell us what it is, but I'm curious if there was, as we talked about this, something that came obvious to you, or is anyone even struggling with this idea? And it's okay, because struggling with this process is part of the creative process. Anyone who has created anything knows that, like, being burdened with like struggling with how to come up with something is part of the process. Gabriella?
Yeah, like I said, I always like based on true stories. So this is actually something I've thought about, like even when I'm hiking. My mom is an immigrant, so I like to hike a lot, and oftentimes I think, oh my God, am I living a movie? Like, is this my mom? Like what she walked through, So
Sure.
yeah. And I'm listening to certain songs and things, and it's just kind of like almost playing a movie. Like I was in New Mexico the other day, it's very dry
Hmm.
out there. So I'm like, this could be part of a movie involving, people trying to get through the US.
Great. So, Gabrielle, I love what you're sharing because uh, part of this process involves you tapping into your senses, what you see, what you smell, what you hear, what you feel, what you taste. So open your senses up to this process as well. And so as you think about images and you think about the places that you may be connecting with, as there could be stories embedded there, right? This is very therapeutic in a sense of like it could be a very mindful practice to like tap into these senses. Amy.
Yeah, I guess something that came up for me was sort of a question that's been resonating with me, and I've been trying to I guess you were talking about intrusive thoughts and not repressing it. So this is something that came up for me. But basically, why do I feel so lonely even after
Mm,
everything else that I have?
mm,
I have a support system, I have friends, I have a family, a loving family, I have everything that I could ever want, I guess. But yeah,
hmm.
why do I still feel so lonely on the inside?
Okay. Thank you for sharing. What I love about that share is that we're tackling something very complex, which is two things that seem opposites, opposing forces, occupying the same space, right? How could I be lonely while still grateful for the things that I'm grateful for? Um, and so this is a great part of this process is bringing in things that seem like opposite forces into the same space, into a scene, into a dialogue, into a visual representation, and having them hold the space and allowing that to happen creatively could maybe one day help us have that hold that space in our lives in a consistent basis. So there's less friction with those two components or those two facets. Thank you, Amy. Great share. Um, so that's the first. Anyone else before? Any reactions to part one, finding your story? Or so part two are is leaning into the script writing. So this is where we start. Um, it's becomes a little bit more tactile. Okay, part one was more sort of like very meditative, um, very introspective, and now we get a little bit tactile in the sense of like, okay, let's actually bring some concrete. Let's start forming the clay a bit. Um, so with script writing, you're able to, as it says, turn scripts of helplessness into stories with characters who make choices, writing different endings, authorship as agency. Part of script writing is having control. You get to do whatever you want. You can have things that happened in the past happen differently. And you can have people that weren't there, people who were there, not there, things that were said, not said, things that were not said, said, right? There's so much control there. And what we're talking about is not we're not another form of repression could be disassociation, meaning like we start not connecting to reality. And so this is not what this is. By you imposing or rearranging the chessboard in the way you want to arrange it, allows you to see how you wish things could have been and the benefit of that and how we can now apply it to the present. This is a very narrative practice called reauthoring. It allows you to feel less like a prog, not prog, a pog in the system or like a cog in the system, but more so like having more authorship, like being someone that's driving the car. Um, and so I'm curious if anyone, um, I've I've in the past have worked with people dealing with issues with writing, like meaning like there's a lot of confidence issues with people who sometimes feel like I don't want to write anything and have someone read it, and there's a lot of like fear there. So I'm curious if anyone has any apprehension with writing in general, Saying it out loud could be helpful as a means to first steps in working through that fear. But anyone have any apprehensions with writing? Gabriella.
Yeah, that one. I kind of feel a little nervous talking about that one. Being a journalist, that's something that I always struggled with. Like math
Sure.
was always my thing, but I always knew I wanted to be a journalist. So
Mm,
that was something I always kind of, always like saw as some like a weakness almost. So I know
mm,
there were certain times where I'd have to submit, my script for the story and I'd be like, yeah, I don't know if I wrote that one right. They might, get me on that. So yeah, still to this day, kind of, I kind of think about writing. I'm like, yeah, I might have to take a college course again. So yeah.
mm. Okay. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else also in the same boat with Gabriella? Any sort of fears attached to the writing process?
I feel like I feel like I'm a strong writer. Well, I'm pretty confident that I'm a strong writer, but when it comes to the topic that I'm writing about, creative writing,
Mm,
um, that's always been a struggle for me. I mean, I could be a great documentary writer, but when it comes to creative writing, I really struggled in college with that.
mm,
And I guess part of my fear is now, um, like if I was to write about experiences and things, again, I would feel like it's really negative, and who's gonna want to sit through it, and who's gonna care. So that's my fear about
mm.
writing.
Okay. Uh, Nicolette, thank you for sharing. Nicolette, correct?
Yes.
Um, as you mentioned before, this idea of why would someone want to be exposed to these experiences that you've gone through? I think one thing to consider is that there's an element to every story that keeps the story moving forward, which is conflict. Um, if you go to any sort of writing seminar, whether it's for novels or screenwriting or for plays, that's going to be the central focus in in for any writer to recognize where's the conflict and to ensure that the conflict is clear to the audience. Without it, if there's no conflict, then there's no progression in the story. And if there's no progression in the story, it's going to be very flat. Now, we're talking in terms of audience appeal, which is not really what the focus of this whole experience is.
Hmm.
Because this is not meant to appease an audience. This is meant
Hmm.
for you to understand yourself.
Hmm.
But even with the same concept of like every story has conflict and that's how the story moves forward,
Hmm.
in recognizing the conflict in your own life, there's a lot of new information that we can garner here that could be important. For example, um, when we talk about characterization, meaning like understanding your characters, part of characterization is understanding your characters from a 360 view, meaning understanding them as a complete person and not as a flat character.
Hmm.
Um, if you watch any sort of William H. Macy, who's an actor, has this
Yeah.
great interview where he's asked about his roles as villains. And the way he responded was that he for him to really succeed in portraying a villain, he needs to empathize with that character. He
Hmm.
needs to understand why they did what they did. And on some level, as the actor playing that character, has to believe that it was justified, that their actions were justified, so that he can then embody the character in an honest way.
Yeah.
Think about all these actors in our history who've played such despicable people. Like I'm thinking of like Leonardo DiCaprio in Django Unchained, like such a
Hmm.
horrible person.
Hmm.
Or even in that same movie, Samuel L. Jackson's character in that film, like playing a slave who uh, who pursues the enslavement of other slaves.
Right.
Um, Now, for those, actor like Leonardo DiCaprio and Samuel Jackson, for them to portray them in an honest way, they had to, on some level, justify the behavior of those characters so that they can embody them. So that means that that conflict is is it's more than flat. It's very layered and complex. And so from that, from understanding it from a script writing standpoint, diving into the conflict, exploring it, we might learn some things. For example, like we might learn that I'm not the victim of my story. I'm actually the survivor of my story.
Mhm.
And it doesn't change the facts, but it changed the viewpoint, the perspective. And we could only maybe understand that by diving deep into, wow, I went through so much conflict and I'm still here. And I would
Mhm.
have maybe not have recognized that unless I've like shown the depths of the conflict. And imagine someone's, and if we talk about like the advantage from a sharing standpoint, which we'll get to in step 7, imagine someone's ability uh, to uh, to empathize, to relate, to see their own struggles on film. It's very powerful. And so
Mhm.
your conflict that you're saying, why would anyone want to see this? Well, first off, you understanding your conflict in a new way could be very important for you.
Mhm.
But one day, if you decide to share it, it could be therapeutic for somebody else.
Mhm. Yes, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you so
Of
much.
course. So that's the script writing phase. Now, as we move toward the more tactile components, because now we're script writing, and so some of you might who have maybe some experience or know about the movie world might start thinking, but formats and the ways in which to go about some of this, like there are like script writing software like Final Draft. You might think, do I have to now buy this? And for this therapeutic process, we're not going to follow any sort of rules. There's no rule as to how to set up your script. And as we move forward, there's no rule as to how to set up your storyboard, how to how to produce the film, meaning the filming part, the editing, this. So I don't want you all to come in with any sort of preconceived rules as to like, I am supposed to do it this way, because we're going to throw that all out the window. So when it comes to writing your script, basically all you need to do is like tell us who's in the scene, what they're saying, what they're doing, and what we could potentially be seeing. And you don't have to be too specific on as to what we're seeing yet, because we're going to go into the storyboard, which is very visual. But really, that's all we care about is who's talking, what they're saying, and what are they doing while they're talking. That's basically it. Whatever format makes sense to you, do it that way. We don't want to get bogged down by rules in that sense. Okay. Any questions so far? Great. So moving forward, storyboarding. Now, this is again, we're now filmmaking allows us to branch to many different types of art. So we went through a meditative type of creative expression, meaning like figuring things out, which is step 1. Then we get a little bit more tactile with writing things down, writing ideas down, writing scenes. That's step 2. Now storyboarding is we're getting into more visual, like our drawing skills. Now, some of you might say, like, I can't draw, I do stick figures. That's perfectly fine. The point of a storyboard is that you start figuring out, if I had a camera, what would the camera be seeing? What, and I think I love Gabriella talking about the New Mexico terrain, right? There's already a visualization. Like think about like the empty road with the cacti and the scorching sun and the beautiful like beige sand, and maybe in the background we have a little bit of some hills or tundras. Again, it's like you can start thinking about what's in the foreground, what's in the background. If there's any movement, what movement is happening, right? uh so there's a lot of visual elements that then you'd have to like figure out, well, I'm gonna have to draw it because I want to see what the first thing is, what's the second thing, and so forth and so forth. And again, stick figures is fine, right? A hill could be a triangle, the horizon is just a straight line, birds are just like an M, right? So there's all these like very basic ways in which that we can visualize these scenes. But it's important with the storyboard is we start ordering the experience. Now what's happening is some of us, because of our mental health uh, problems, might have an issue with fragmentation, might have an issue with stability of ideas or stability of thought, stability of actions. With storyboarding, we have to start putting things in order. So we're training a new skill possibly, which again, the process of this is you don't have to be a filmmaker to tap into this. It's basically ways in which to garner new skills that could be therapeutic. So we're starting to order things that make sense. Okay? Questions so far on phase 3? So on phase 4, we're now filming. Now, this is where you put on a new hat. In the filming phase, you are now a director. Okay? Again, you might say, this is a skill I've never thought of myself encompassing. I don't see myself as a leader or as a boss. I don't see myself telling people what to do. I have a problem with that. Well, is there any benefits of leaning into some of the skill set, of leaning into being able to convey your idea to a person or other people and think about how to convey it clearly so that they understand your message, so that then you can work in unison with each other, right? There's a lot of great team building opportunities there. Um, and the real therapeutic journey here is when you're the director, seeing your story being played out in front of you. Now, sometimes there are directors that are also actors in the scene, and then sometimes they're not. So you get to kind of choose where you're, if you want to take on extra roles there. But both are still very therapeutic because we're now enacting out these scenes. The story that was originally rumination or intrusive thought that I've now taken into a concrete form and made it into a script where I'm able to then be more in control, say what I wanted to say, or have things happen the way I wanted them to happen. And then I've now laid it out visually, where I know the order of things and what visual elements I think are going to be important to also have in the story. And now I'm seeing it laid out in front of me. The thing that I've imagined is literally, 5 feet in front of me. There's a lot of power there. There's a lot of excitement there. There could be a lot of fear there as well. But it's an experience that could be very energizing, right? It could be a positive surcharge to your creativity. Okay. Again, all this is about building that creative agency. Um, and that's the production phase. As we're talking about this, anyone who decides to embark on this journey, I would always say in the beginning, start as simple as possible. We don't want to embark. So anyone who knows the Jaws story, Steven Spielberg's horrific experience creating Jaws, he had a nightmare experience with the mechanical shark. Like it just didn't work. And every time it did work, it looked really dumb from Spielberg's standpoint. He was like, this looks fake. I'm going to be ruined. Everyone's going to laugh at me. And what happened was they had to not show the shark because it was so awful. They're like, well, we can't show the shark. What ended up happening was that was the best part of the film is not seeing the shark as much until like a very small glimpse of it. It's the presence of the shark that he created through the music, the fear on the people's face in reaction to the shark. These are all things that if we simplify things, could actually work in our favor. So for everyone here, we're not going to be hiring 20 people. We're not going to be doing shoots in other countries. We're not going to be including a car chase and things like that, or we're not going to do a monster movie that's going to involve all this makeup. Okay, this is about your story, so this could be a conversation between you and someone who possibly hurt you. It could be a conversation with yourself. It could be a visual piece, and we'll get to the kind of like different modes, different types of pieces you can focus on. But small setting, not a lot of people involved, if at all anyone, and very short. This is not going to be a 90-minute thing. This could be very much like a 3-minute piece of work, right? So when you think about the filming process, like keeping it simple will help you maybe mitigate some of the fears attached. Okay. Editing is going to be a whole, again, this is the part where maybe people get a little overwhelmed because you're like, this sounded like a great idea, but there's so many things involved, right? I'm not much of a writer, or maybe I am a writer, but I'm not much of a drawer, an artist, like someone who illustrates. Maybe you do illustrate, but I'm not someone who can take charge and like, tell people what to do. Maybe I am, but now we get to editing. Are you someone who can then take this footage that you created on your phone and edit it together? And that's a whole new learning curve. We do have software that makes it very easy, and there's free software, nothing that anyone has to purchase and spend money on. Free software that helps you just work on editing things together. And that could be a separate talk one day in regard to having an editing tutorial. There's also tutorials on YouTube that you can look into that makes it very easy. But the goal of it is that eventually you have a canvas of images and scenes to work with. You have now a new area to gain some agency, which is you get to decide what stays and what gets cut. And you start getting to play with your film. You can start taking something that was originally you thought was going to be the beginning, and maybe it works more now in the end. You might take something in the middle and change it a little bit through like the order of which the events happen. There's so much play involved. And this is this part that when I've worked with people before, this is the part where they start zoning in really a lot because they get very transfixed in all these different options they have. It's the most daunting in if you zoom out, once you're in it, it's the one that involves the most intention and can be the most interactive. So that's editing, and then we get to sound, which is music is a whole other component that's incredible to music to movies. Like as we mentioned, the Jaws soundtrack to that made the ominous tone of the shark very scary. If we think about the Darth Vader's theme in Star Wars, when we think about Superman's theme or the Marvel theme that we see every time we watch a Marvel movie, like these are all things that there has emotion attached to it. Now, I'm not saying everyone has to now become a musician and create your own music. You can actually include music that already exists in your film. So you can go through your Spotify or Apple Music or YouTube and find music that moves you. Classical music, pop songs, rock songs, and think about how, if that was put in the background of your scene, how that would accentuate or add meaning. Because music in of itself is meaningful. There's lyrics, there's tone, emotionality in music that, if added to your scene, adds new layers of meaning. So you can actually start getting different sensory experiences in your scene by adding sound. Okay. And the last phase, witnessing. This is where, again, so much agency here. This whole experience is about you developing more control in your life. You get to decide who gets to see this final product. You get to decide as to the environment that it's seen. Do you send it to someone? Do you invite the people that you trust to your home and show it to them? Or do you wait? Do you kind of like just love the fact that you created something and then decide one day whether you'd like to show it to someone or not? You get to decide. You are in control. So that's again where we lean into that creative agency to feel empowered. But there's such an interactive experience to showing your film, and as I was mentioning before, that your story could resonate with someone else, and them bearing witness to your story could feel that you're now allowing someone to understand you in a deeper way that they maybe weren't able to understand before, because words are hard sometimes, but a creative expression might be a little easier. And so there's a lot of healing that can occur there. Imagine sharing a very vulnerable story to the person that you want to be the most vulnerable with, or sharing a story of pain to the person that hurt you, or sharing a story of triumph, of victory to a person who never knew that you could ever succeed. There's so many ways in which that you can create a healing experience by sharing your film. Okay. So that's the whole experience. It's a lot, right? Doing it on your own might feel like a big weight, but imagine, I'd like everyone to envision themselves having gone through this process again. And we're talking about something very realistic, very doable, like it could be one scene that you want to film, one conversation, 2 minutes, it could be 30 seconds. Like it could be very short, but something that you think of, something that you write, something that you visualize, something that you film, something that you edit together, you add some sound, and then it's complete, and then you decide to show it to someone. So I'm wondering anyone's reaction to that whole experience, what that feels like to anyone so far. Amy.
Yeah, so I went to school to study communications, and
Hmm.
one of my classes was the Intro to Audiovisual class, and
Hmm.
they did not teach us how to actually do any of this stuff. It was more of like they gave us the guidance of the tools and stuff, and like how to storyboard and how to write a script and everything. But the actual filming part, like from 4, 5, 6, 7, that was the process that you kind of had to DIY. You had to do it yourself. You had to learn it
Sure.
yourself. There was no one that can really teach you how to do that.
Hmm.
So for me, writing hasn't really been a problem for me, nor storyboarding, but the actual filming itself, like kind of like finding people to either hold the camera for me or like do other stuff for me or like hold the audio boom for me, all of that. It feels like a collaborative process for me. So that's where I
Yes.
feel stuck on. And then I ruminate on it and I'm like,
Mm,
why haven't I been able to make a film in like 10 years now,
mm,
uh post graduation? So
mm,
that's where I'm stuck at. And you mentioned earlier about like the collaborative process and stuff, and I'm just like, how do I make it known that I would like to collaborate with others on this kind of project that means a lot to me, you know?
mm. Great question. Um, Now, filmmaking is very collaborative, as you mentioned, uh, and that could be the barrier for a lot of people. I think about other art mediums, like if you're an illustrator, all you need is a pencil and paper. Even if you're a musician, I mean, it's fun being in a band, and I've been in bands a lot of my life. But I could also be in a room by myself and play guitar and record that. Um, so a lot of other mediums, like there's a possibility of doing everything on your own. Filmmaking is the one it's possible, but it's very difficult. It's more difficult. But if you're someone who collaboration has been an impediment, that it's something that not only artistic collaboration, but collaboration in your life, like connecting to people, if that's been a barrier, this could be a process in which to deal with that barrier. Um, there's other, and I can show you, we can skip a little bit, um, that there's formats that you can choose that maybe if the collaboration is such an impediment that it diminishes your like the probability of even doing this, then there's a couple other routes that maybe will help you at very least going through the process. So these are the formats that you can choose. One is a monologue scene where you can just speak to a camera. You don't need a boom mic or a separate audio interface. It could just be a camera, and you can have your camera be propped up on some books. Or if you want to buy like a phone holder, you can. Um, it's it's very much like an opportunity for you to write something where it's one character speaking out to the universe, and the process of what that person says is a journey where they move through conflict in the monologue. If anyone has read any plays or gone to any theater plays, there's a lot of monologues in theater where a character kind of like could be interacting with characters, but then stops and then kind of walks toward the front of the stage and starts talking out to the audience. Maybe not directly eye contact, but kind of like out, audience is here, and maybe the character's, speaking like this. And the character's kind of going through like a mental journey in that moment. And that's a monologue scene. And there's many, many monologues out there that really are very expressive about a character going through something very introspective. So there's a lot of value there if you yourself write a monologue for yourself about a conflict or journey that you have been going through have gone through, want to go through. And that could just be you filming a camera, and that's it. The editing's very minimal. It could just be one shot, usually called like a oneer, right? When there's like no cuts. You can cut, and that could again add a lot more interesting variations, meaning like even though you shoot it with one way, in an editing room, you could zoom in, you can zoom out, you can cut pieces, move things around. There's so much freedom there. Um, so that's like if collaboration is an impediment, there's a monologue option. The scene-based option is when characters are in a setting, so there'd be you and possibly or a character representing you and some other characters, and there's dialogue and there's interactions. And now you can move the camera, or you don't have to. You can keep the camera sedentary, and again, there's still like if anyone has watched any um like the film about the housing collapse that happened, The Big Short, right? The the filmmaker's name's someone help me. Who directed The Big Short? Who also did like Anchorman and uh he collaborated with Will Ferrell a lot. Anyone know who I'm talking about?
Adam
That's good.
McKay.
Adam McKay, thank you very much. Adam McKay's style of shooting is that he actually has a bunch of cameras and they're all just none of them are moving. They're not like, one camera's like running through here or going through there. They're all just like sedentary and zooming in and out or not at all. And then in the editing room, he zooms in and out. Like, so there's a lot that you can do. You don't have to like think about like someone has to hold the camera. You can just like have the camera set one place and shoot your thing. And then in the editing, there's a lot of control that you can or add variation. There's also a option for images and voices, visualizations with narration. You can film a lot of things like without you being in it. Like you can go to the park, you can go to the beach, you can go to the mountains, film a bunch of things, put it into your editing software, and then you can record your voice speaking, and that could be like a monologue or narration. Splice that all together, and that becomes your short film, right? You didn't need anyone else. You didn't need to like hire anyone or ask anyone to help you with anything. It's very self-contained. And then there's the hybrid, which is like all these together. If anyone has watched like a Terrence Malick film, which is he did Tree of Life,
Thin Red Line.
and Thin Red Line, which is an amazing movie. He's a very experimental filmmaker where it's a lot of all this. It's a lot of like uh beautiful images, characters speaking with each other, a character just walking around, but you hear the character speaking over themselves, but they're not actually speaking. Um, Sometimes it makes sense, sometimes it doesn't. A lot of times it doesn't make sense. A lot of times the actors had no idea what they were doing at all. Like Terrence was just like telling them to do things in the spot. So there's a lot of fluidity in this hybrid. But there's a lot of fluidity in general. Like part of we mentioned Adam McKay. There's a lot of improvisation as well. There's a lot of things that happen in the moment that you didn't expect. So Amy, that's kind of a long-winded answer regarding if collaboration is a problem. There's options for you. But if collaboration is something that you feel like you need in your life, this could be an opportunity to try to get that as part of your life. And when you ask like, how do I collaborate? I would first ask the people that you trust. And they don't have to be filmmakers. They don't have to be people who have any sort of intention to be artistic in any way. There's just people who care about your well-being. Um, anyone who's in your support system, anyone who would be on a safety plan, if you had a safety plan. These are people that you can reach out to and ask for help in this creative therapeutic experience for you that could be very minimal. It could be a one afternoon, but you can start there. Any reactions to that, Amy? Or any questions or feelings or
Yeah, I took a lot of notes. I think the monologue and the image with voice, like visuals with narration, would definitely help contribute to whether or not I do it alone, or I can ask people from my support system, people I trust, to help me make this piece if it's something that's, you know, I guess it's just the issue of me asking them and stuff, and all that barriers in my
Yeah.
mind and stuff. But I think they would help me. You know, I think they would want me to uh, finish this piece and help contribute.
Yes. Right. And anytime I'm working with anyone and they tell me like, oh, I'm hesitant to doing this, my instincts, let's do it. Right? You're hesitant. That means we're going to run after it. Because the imagine the benefit of breaking through that wall, this hesitant wall that you've always had. You finally break through in a small way. Okay, we're not talking about your life has changed. We're like you ask someone for help that you don't typically ask for help from, and they do something very new that maybe they would have never thought of helping you in. People are like, they're like, I thought you wanted to ride. You want me to be a part of a film? Like they would have, it's very surprising maybe. But at the end of it could be this very like therapeutic, creative, and possibly even very enjoyable experience.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Great input, great question. Anyone have any other inputs, questions, feelings of resistance, concerns that they have about the process? I know it's so much. I mean, looking at this, you're like, this is a lot. But anyone's initial reactions, I'd love to hear.
This is Tamara. I just really want to
Hi.
thank you. I appreciate how liberating this is. It's like the one of my mentors when when she was encouraging me, she'd always say it's the guidance to be productive with the permission to be creative.
Yes,
And that's what this feels like to me. So thank you.
that's a great quote. And you're the one that has the beautiful dog in the picture.
Yes, yes.
What did you tell us your favorite film?
Yeah, it's Love Jones.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah, and one of the first things I wrote when we were on the finding this story didn't surprise me. The first thing that came to mind was I'm scrolling through my notes. Hold on. I wrote when you said, "What's the repetitive story that keeps coming up?" I said, "People, places, things, situations, and relationships I've poured love into, good, bad, or indifferent."
Mm, beautiful sentiment, like beautiful and how clear you wrote that down, but how beautiful of a story that could be if if I'd love to see your hands in that story, manipulating it and like, sculpting it.
Okay.
I think the reason I'm sorry, Tamara, I think this is like the third time I forgot that you said the movie is Love Jones your favorite film. And I think the reason why I keep forgetting is because your picture makes me think of Turner and Hooch, the movie with Tom Hanks. And so I
Yeah.
keep thinking of that. So it's like Love Jones keeps getting erased
What's
by,
what's interesting in that is that's my sweet boy Jax. I had to make one of the hardest decisions of my life and put him down in February 26th, and he actually saved my life 12 years
oh,
ago. He rescued me 12 years ago when I was suicidal. And so this is very poetic, if you will.
yeah, that's almost like the storyline of Turner and Hooch.
I know. That's why wow, how you channeled that.
Yeah, great. Okay. Any other reactions? I want to be mindful of time because we're kind of slowly getting to the end here. Um, so we talked about format, right? So these are ways in which you can start thinking about if you wanted to participate in this process, ways in which you can. And there are, as we mentioned, many different types of films that lean into all of these different formats. One thing to start thinking about as kind of like a entryway. I mean, there's some earlier parts of where you can start, this free write, which I think is important. When you start kind of like allowing your pen to go to paper or pencil to paper and just start writing, there's great data there. So don't ever if there's a great book called The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, who one of her initiatives that she or directives that she has in that book is for everyone to start writing what's called the morning pages. And the morning pages is basically just every morning you just free write. For her direct, and the morning pages are technically a 3-page nonstop free write. So like you have to write for 3 pages nonstop, and the pen can't ever, stop writing. And anytime that I've worked that book into therapy with my clients, whoever I have people who like even when I've stopped working with them, they always when I talk to them, like, later in time, they always say, I'm still doing my morning pages every day. It's something that really sticks as a great mindful practice. But start free writing. And these are ways in which to kind of direct that free writing to kind of figure out where your story can be more focused, right? So these are some writing opportunities. And then you'll get to your opening shot, which is really going to be important because when it comes to the creative process, instincts are important. Whatever you first feel drawn to, don't repress that. Let's lean into it. Why is it that, like, for example, like Gabriella mentioned New Mexico. Why? Like, what is it about that terrain that she connected with? I'd like everyone to, when you start going to this process, like, take notice of your initial instincts, and your opening shot is a huge initial instinct. Like, what is the first thing that you think your audience would see? Um, and the because will be very revealing. Why is it? That's something that you are connecting to. The sound world, again, not just because I'm a musician, music is so important. Music is really the second story layer of your film. It's the implied messages that your audience or that you can embed, or your audience will hear or be exposed to, and that you can embed into your story. And so when you think about the images that you could be playing with and editing and shooting, I want you to think about what sounds you hear. And they don't have to just be songs. They could be noises. Think about, again, horror movies, love, eerie creaks and things like that. Um, so it could be any sort of, baby crying in the background, a loud car crash sound, an alarm ringing. These are all things that could be significant, or at the very least, evoke a meaning in you or in the person that you share the film with. Okay, so these are things to start thinking about. Opening shot, sounds. Okay, and then none of this has to do with end product. This is all just a play, right? You're thinking. Think about all the mental space all the cognitive space that's going to be taken up as you start this free write. What does the free write lead you down toward? What is the opening shot? Why did I choose that opening shot? What sounds could be involved? You know what all this is? All this is you not ruminating, right? All this is you not allowing intrusive thoughts to exasperate anxiety or depression. All this is not the hyperarousal that leads to hypoarousal, the revving up of your nervous system that leads to the inevitable crash. All this is that we're talking about is creative thinking, it's cognitive thinking. It's very, CBT, if anyone has ever done cognitive behavioral therapy, it's a lot of like identifying these cognitive distortions, reframing them, looking at it from a realistic standpoint. It's also very expressionist and very like liberating. It could be like, oh wow, I could be an artist, right? That's a new identity marker that I never thought of for myself, right? All this is not the old ruminations and the old problematic thinking. So that's like the big benefit here is that we're doing something that it's like the same memories and thoughts, but in a new format that's not unhealthy. Okay. And why is this? Because we are able to deal with, and this is kind of like how this could be a very therapeutic experience or a very mindful experience, is that it helps us not allow depression to narrow our story, because depression is very much limiting our body. We lose so much energy and so much gusto for life that we feel like very restricted and isolated, right? And so being creative, especially with filmmaking, we have so many parameters, allows you to break out of those limitations. Okay. It also allows you to be focused. So anyone dealing with bouts or have a history with mania or hypomania, this is a great way to develop the skill of conscientiousness, of organization. Um, Also, because you have to, for this to actually work in any capacity, you have to be organized. And this is a skill that everyone needs to have. We all need to be conscientious on some level so that we can progress. And then this is a great way to allow your diagnosis to not be part of your identity anymore. It could be part of something bigger. It could be a way in which that you can be a creative person who uses or who channels the messages that your symptoms are offering you as a means to create something beautiful. And we finally are not going to be isolating, because even if you do a one-person show, camera, monologue, you eventually can have the option to share, right? That's collaborative. That person may not have helped you in the process in making the film, but they're now in the process of watching the film with you, right? You're now in a new experience with that person. So this filmmaking allows you to tap into all these benefits, which are all ways in which that we can counteract the depressive, anxious, mood disorder symptoms. And so this is a plan that everyone has, that you have this document now that you can, after you work on this document on your own, you can work through as a way to kind of organize your ideas. And it could be step one to make it a little bit more plausible as to how to move forward with this creative experience. Okay. So finally, the big quote, that's been repeated here in like kind of like the event advertisement for this is: no filmmaking experience is required. A phone camera is enough. The only requirement is a story worth telling, and everyone in this room has one. Even believing that, to Nicolette's point, why would someone want to experience or see this story of mine? The second you believe that it's a story worth sharing, and that there's a person that could not only want to see it but benefit from it, you've now embedded value in not only your story but yourself. And that could be a great way to progress in your mental health journey, in believing that your story is valuable and worth sharing, worth processing through, worth interacting with in a new way, and then worth sharing. Okay. So that's our workshop today, as to how to use filmmaking as a means to understand yourself, to interact with your environment in any way, and to have a fun experience at the end of the day. Why not have a little bit of fun?